Hello everybody, it's Monday, March 16th, 2020, and today we're going to be going back over subtracting mixed numbers. I know you guys wrote this down in your journals, and you might not have your journals, which is okay because I have it here for you. You can pause this video anytime you need to. You can go back and rewind it and watch it as many times as you need to understand the skills that we need to solve these problems. So tomorrow we're going to have a little quiz on subtracting mixed numbers. That's going to be on Big Ideas Math. I'll tell you a little bit about that more tomorrow. And then part of tomorrow and then Wednesday we're going to be going over, basically it's going to be word problems with adding and subtracting mixed numbers. So that's why we're going over this, because subtracting mixed numbers has a few extra steps, and that's why I want to make sure that we've got it all. So before we begin, I'm going to do one problem for you. And remember, you can rewind this video as many times as you need to watch me solve that one problem. And you're going to do a couple on your own today. Let's go over the 5 steps again. Let's see. Step number 1 is convert them to improper fractions. And remember, we do that with bottom times big plus the top. Then we're going to find the common denominator. You guys know how to do that. We're going to make a T-chart. Remember, T stands for truth. If you multiply, you might get a lie. And number 3, we're going to be fair to the numerator. That means however we change the denominators, we're going to change the numerators in the same way so that it's fair and equal and even. Number 4, we're going to subtract the numerators. That's where the subtraction part comes in. And we're also going to leave the denominators the same at that point. They're going to stay the same number. And then number 5, we're going to convert back to a mixed number. And I put a little obelisk there, the division symbol, because to do that, to convert to a mixed number, we're going to divide. Remember, all fractions are division problems. All right, so I'm going to take this slowly. And remember, you can watch this as many times as you need to. And we're going to start with step number 1. Convert them to an improper fraction. And we're going to do that by doing bottom times the big plus the top. For example, I'm going to do 9 times 2 is 18 plus 1 is 19. So 19 is my new numerator, and 2 stays my denominator. So we got 19 halves. All right, I'm going to go ahead and add my little minus sign. All right, then we have 1 2/5. So I'm going to do bottom times big plus top. 5 times 1 is 5, and plus 2 is going to be 7. And then 5 are fifths. That's going to stay our bottom number. So now we have 19 halves minus 7 fifths. All right, next step. The next step is going to be find the common denominator. Okay, we're going to make a T-chart. I know you guys already are looking at this, and you know that 10 is the LCM. It's the common denominator. But just to make sure, I'd like you to come over to the side. And we're going to make our T-chart with 2 and 5. We're going to write all the multiples of 2 and 5 by skip counting. Not all of them, just some of them, until we find a match. Again, these two numbers are going to be talking to each other, saying what numbers they like, which are their multiples, and then we're going to find what number they have in common first. 2 and 5 have a good bit of numbers in common, but we would need to see the first number that they have in common. So let's skip count by 2s. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and I'm going to stop right there. And let's see, let's count by 5s. 5, 10, 15, 20. Okay, and I could keep going, but we all see that 10 is the LCM, the least common multiple. So 10 is going to be my new denominator. All right. Now, step number 3 is be fair to the numerator. So what we did was we changed these denominators. So we have to be fair to the numerator to make it even and equal, all right? So we're going to do that using multiplication. Remember, ask yourself, how do I turn 2 into 10 using multiplication? And if you said times 5, you're correct, because 2 times 5 is 10. So we need to do this. We need to do the same thing over here. We need to do 19 times 5. And I don't know what that is off the top of my head, and you probably don't either, and that's okay. So we're going to come to the side and do 19 times 5. We know how to do this. Let's see, it's 5 times 9 first. 5 times 9, and that's going to give me 45. I'm going to write my 5, and I'm going to carry my 4. All right, and then I'm going to do 5 times 1, which is 5, but I got to add that extra 4, making it 9. okay? So 95 is going to be our new numerator over here, okay? Now we come over here. I need to figure out, how do I turn 5 into 10? And it's going to be times 2. Remember, that's commutative property. If 2 times 5 is 10, then backwards, 5 times 2 will also be 10. So if we're doing times 2 in the denominator for this fraction, we got to do times 2 in the numerator to be fair. Remember, that's step 3, be fair to the numerator. So 7 times 2, we all know that's 14. And just like that, we have 95 tenths minus 14 tenths. Once your denominators are the same, you can go ahead and go to step 4, which is to subtract the numerators. So I'm going to go ahead and write 10 down here, because I know that my answer is going to have 10 in the denominator, at least until we change it, but that's in step 5. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Right now, we got to do 95 minus 14. So I'm going to write it on the side. Let's see. So 5 minus 4 is going to be 1, and 9 minus 1 is going to be 8. So 81 tenths is my answer. But we do need to do step 5, which is to convert back to a mixed number, and we do that by dividing. Remember, every fraction is a division problem. So this is going to be 81 divided by 10. So, and I know this is a lot of math. Look at this. This is just one problem, and we're not even done yet. And I told you guys this, that fractions are very easy. It's just a lot of math that you got to put into them. Okay? So we're going to go off to the side, and we're going to, 81 is our dividend inside of our house. And 10 is going to be our divisor outside of our house, and we need to find our quotient. Okay? So I need to ask myself, can 10 go into 8? It cannot. So I'm going to put a tiny little x just to save my spot. Again, if you want to put zeros, that's fine. I just like to put an x. That's just how I like to do it. Excuse me. So since it can't go into this place value, we need to ask, can 10 go into 81? Yes, it can. We know that it can go into 81 8 times. Because if you count by tens, you can count 8 times to get to 80, but 9 times will go to 90, and that's too many, okay? So 10 can only go into 81 8 times without going over. Now we do 10 times 8. Remember, your order, your algorithm for this is DMSCB. Does McDonald's sell cheeseburgers? Or we call it divide, multiply, subtract, compare, and then bring down. So we just divided, and we're going to multiply it. 10 times 8 is 80. Very good. Now we're going to subtract. See, I have my little checklist here. 81 minus 80, we already know that that's just going to give us 1. But if you want to go ahead and put that 0 there, please feel free to. Okay? Now we compare. This is the quickest and easiest part of division, if you remember. You just look at the number that you just got, and you see, is it less than 10, which is my divisor? The answer is yes, so we're good, okay? Next is bring down, but I don't have anything else to bring down because my problem is over, okay? So this would be my remainder then. My quotient is 8, and my remainder is 1. Now, if you remember, this is going to be our final part here. We're going to write 10 is going to stay our denominator. So we need to figure out two numbers, our big number that goes here and our little number that goes in the numerator, our whole number and our numerator. Remember, the quotient, the number you get for your answer, is going to be your big number. And the remainder, the number that's left over, that's going to be your little numerator on top. So our full answer for this problem is 8 1/10. Again, if you've felt like you got lost, remember you can rewind this video as many times as you need to, and you can go back and try a part of it over again. I suggest if you struggled figuring out how to do that, if you're still wondering how to do a certain part of each problem, or just how to do, maybe you're struggling with this section, maybe you don't like that section, just go back and write the whole problem down on a piece of paper and do it like I did. And again, I know it takes up a lot of space, all this work for that answer, but it's worth it in the end, because remember, we practiced a bunch of different skills for fractions just to do one type of problem like this. And before we move on to word problems, I need to make sure everybody's got this, okay? So what you're going to do is you're going to go into Google Classroom, and we're not doing our textbooks today just because we've already done all the subtracting mixed numbers out of our textbook. So what I've done is I've gotten an extra worksheet that you're going to work on. It looks like this. As you can see, I've already done number 1 for you. Number 1 was 9 1/2 minus 1 2/5. So I already gave that